Hey everyone, welcome back to Overland Trails. My name is Shannon, again, your host, and in this episode, we're going to dive into one of the latest build-outs I want to do to the Tundra. But before we get into the how-tos and what I'm doing, I want to talk about why I chose what I did with a lot of feedback and a lot of YouTube watching of other people and what they've done and some of the challenges they've had. To talk about this more in depth, let's go to the manufacturer's website and we'll take a look at what they say about their product and the pros and cons. Let's go. Okay, here we are at putco.com/Venture Tec rack, and as you can see, you can pick different vehicles. It's really popular on the Tacoma. And the details here, some of the highlights is it is made of T6 aluminum, has a 500 pound tie down strength. It also has a weight capacity of 1,000 static, 600 pounds dynamic, and 300 pounds off-road dynamic. What that means is when it's sitting still, it can hold 1,000 pounds. When you're driving down the road, it can hold up to 600 pounds. And when you're on rough, rocky terrain, it'll give you about 300 pounds, which that's plenty to hold the tent that we're putting up there and anything we're going to attach to it. So, and you can see it has tons of accessories, lights, tables, bars, extra crossbars for support, different lighting options that you can use with it. You can use whatever you want to, obviously, in lighting. Where it tapers in, so it kind of forms to the cab and gives you this big space here. It has the T-grooves. In those T-grooves, you drop a little nut in there, and then you can screw whatever you want to it. Let's go and take a look at the rack itself and unbox it. Okay, now that we've taken a look at the website, all the pros and cons, and why I chose this particular bed rack over several others that are far cheaper, more economical, we're going to dive into what comes in the box, what you get with the basic kit. For this, I also ordered an extra bar to go across the middle to support the rooftop tent better. This is not going to be an unboxing and going through all the rigmarole. Those just take too long and I don't have patience for that. But I will show you the general stuff of what comes in it, how good it's packed, talk about the instructions and things like that. And then we'll dive into how I'm going to fit it onto the Tundra. I have a back flip tri-fold fiberglass bed cover that will not work with this rack. But I think I can make it work. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve here that I think I can keep the bed rack on, not openable, but still keeping everything inside, you know, generally dry and still be able to install and use the rack. Let's go. Alrighty, it looks pretty well packed. You've got all the bars here that are protected very well. You got a lot of packing around the sides here. Good padding on the sides because the box is too big. And you generally have what looks to be probably the instructions and the gear in there, the bolts and everything. Let's just put it together. But it looks very well packed. Okay, some of the prep that you have to do before you can actually bolt the bed rack onto the truck is you have to cut out these holes right here, the bed stake holes. On the Toyota Tundra, they are not pop-out little slots like on a Ford or something. So I'm going to take the Dremel, I'm going to cut these out, and then we'll be able to see the holes. What we're also going to be able to do is hopefully slide this back under the rack itself. Okay, now we can start cutting the holes for the bed stakes. So once you are able to get into here, you can access down in this hole to where all the bolts are. Very well packaged. And as you can see, being extruded aluminum, it's got a lot of ridges and places where it's providing tensile strength. So this is what we'll set on the bed, attach the bed pockets or the bed rails through here. Very strong looking welds here and up this panel. Alrighty, lunchtime already. Cold pizza. Okay, the interesting thing about this is it is not really instruction friendly, but some of the videos I watched on YouTube, they say basically to take the bracket and use a rubber band, hold the plate to the back side of the bracket itself with a rubber band, drop it in the hole, bolt it in place, bolt through this, then put this in place. When I use one of these bolts, come through here, bolt it together, and I guess cut the rubber band or leave the rubber band. What I don't quite understand is why not do it a smarter way. Bolt this all together like this, then drop it in the hole, then put the bolt down in here, because this is all one unit. It doesn't make sense to put this in, rubber band it, hold it. Hopefully it stays in place. It might get jarred. You may have to fidget it with it a little bit. Just put all this together, insert that into the hole, then put the bolt in here, done. So I'm going to try to do all that with this. This one goes in the front of the, near the cab. And if everything goes right, I'll have this on in a few minutes. This is going to be the outside of the bed of the truck. I'm going to put the screw through the thing, screw the plate in. And so what you end up with is just inserting this into the stake bed, coming in from the inside, bolting it to there. And actually I've got it a little bit backwards. This is the way it goes because this is the inside of the bed. And so this will go against the wall inside of the bed of the truck bed. I'm gonna leave that a little bit loose there just to kind of give it a little bit of space. Alrighty, let's see if my little plan here works out. Goes in smooth. Now all I have to do is line up the bolts on the bottom. I may have to lower the plate a little up and down there a little bit, but should go in just fine. Alrighty, we're going to loosely fit all that in, and let's do the other side. Okay, let's drop in the back bar. Okay, now this bad boy is ready for some side rails. So what we got to do is put those aluminum pieces inside the rail, screw them in place, mount the plate to the rail, and then mount the rail to the rack. Okay, so you got to take this piece of aluminum, 2 holes to the outside, slide it in the slot, line up the side holes. I wouldn't tighten it down completely because you may have to wedge this one over here in a little bit. You want to make sure you got plenty of, and you can put the end plate on. Now, key on this is the grooves go on the outside. That way you will have plenty of room to mount stuff too. So when you take this, you want to make sure that this plate mounts like this. That way you've got it mounting flush with the back of the bed rail. Now once you get up here and you want to start doing the T-screws, or the little washers, you need to drop them in these little slots here. Now when you get them in the slots, you just slide them down and they drop down to the bottom. Okay, once we have them in the position, then we can fit the crossbar on and bolt it down. Another reason to leave the crossbar, or the main bar, is a little loose because you may have to kind of adjust these to get them to fit right. Once you have that in place, then you take your bolts and get them started, but the key here is you got to be able to lift up the nuts to the level in which you want to put the bolt in. And they come with a little handy tool to be able to do that. Okay, I think I figured out how to use this little tool of theirs. You get it just under there, use the long end and go all the way up and then hold it in place while you get this first screw in. Alrighty, now that we got all 8 bolts in to hold this bar in, I'll take my trusty Black & Decker and tighten them up just a little bit. Okay, that's the first rail. Now I'm going to do some rails on the top. Well, unfortunately, Putco shorted me a few large bolts that holds these bars with the aluminum and to these clamps. I'm going to have to kind of finagle it for now and kind of use half the bolts. And I ordered an extra crossbar that goes this way to help support the rooftop tent. And they didn't send me any large bolts at all, so I can't even put that one together and, you know, finagle it. I may run to Home Depot and take one of the bolts and match it up a little bit, but that's just, it's just irritating. Alrighty, and these go together basically the same way. Gotta slide in the little nut, which is not as easy as it looks. You would think, it's easy, just drop it in. Got to be perfectly square, so when you roll it down this way towards the bar, it doesn't bind where you can't use it. And I'm going to line these up with the cab in a way in which I can, I guess, make sure they're square. Since it's so adjustable, it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what, you know, the lineup points for this particular layer of it. So on the crossbar, I'm going to place it a little bit forward because what I'm going to end up doing is using it as the front brace for the rooftop tent. So the rooftop tent will attach here and here, and this is too close in the front to be able to support the tent properly. So that'll give it a good balance. Or I could just put this back in the middle. Could just put this back in the middle here a little bit to, or exactly in the middle to give it a good amount of bracing. I have to play with it a little bit to see what really works best. The challenge though is when you get the tent on, you can't really get to the bolts to move it around, so I got to figure this out before I get too deep and go from there. Again, let's recap. It's in the stake bed, so it's solid and bolted to the truck itself. It's not on a little wobbly rail that goes inside the bed that can slide back and forth. So it's solid. It's not going anywhere at all. It's extruded aluminum, so it's very durable. It has I think a 600 static weight, or 600, I think it has a 600 active weight. So when you're driving down the road, it can support up to 600 pounds of pressure. And the static weight is I think around 800. You can stand on this, you can do whatever. It's got the T-grooves in here, so you can mount things here and back here or here on the side. It has plates that you can buy in the aftermarket that you can either buy a half plate or a full plate that you can mount, you know, Rotopacks to traction boards, whatever. So it's a very versatile, you know, rack system. Should be able to be a really good platform to be able to do stuff this summer in. And we'll go from there to kind of see what's next on the old Tundra build. So if you have any questions about the rack, please let me know in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. And as always, don't give me a like on this because it's not that great. I'll see you on the trails, guys.